Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Caleb Williams and the Bears got things rolling against the Buffalo Bills. Also, the Reds snapped the Brewers' 14-game win streak. And the Lions' offense hasn't looked promising, but there's no reason to panic yet.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The reports out of Chicago and the new Ben Johnson era have been mixed, shall we say, but I would say the performance of Caleb Williams was anything but against the Buffalo Bills. A impressive first drive, a touchdown, that'll always help. Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears joins me now. Lauren, I know you've already called tailors to figure out the pricing on gold jackets. But no, what are we supposed to make of what we saw here in the early going?
Yeah, to me, it felt like kind of a proof of concept where we could see, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like when things are actually lined up the way that they should be. And we know it was against mostly Buffalo Bills backups. It's a preseason. There's all the caveats you want. Like no one's saying this is what it's going to look like all the time. But it's nice to see exactly like, this is sort of, I don't want to say best case scenario, but like now we know what it looks like so that we have the standard to kind of hold it to when we get to the regular season to say, how well can he keep that up?
I think it would be unfair to everyone involved to say, okay, well, there was the early hiccups, the attention to detail, the inconsistencies, to see one drive, or I guess in this case, two drives of Caleb Williams and say, well, it's just fixed now, right? Like there's going to be some inconsistencies here. I know we talked about this before we actually got a chance to see these, this all play out on the field. But what do you want to see the next time we actually see Caleb Williams to know that this is at least moving in the right direction, understanding that progress is not linear in most cases?
Yeah, so I think this has been also a key measurement for Ben Johnson, too, is like not only I want to see Caleb Williams continue to operate the offense at a high level, but you also like have to trust the head coach that he's not going to ask too much of the quarterback either. Like, hired Ben Johnson to build an offense around Caleb Williams. So at any point that Caleb Williams struggles, you have to question whether the head coach is doing enough to help him be successful there too, because they're supposed to be sort of collaborating and being a team on this. Right. So I think like, as you get to a week one regular season game, right, you want to see a similar amount of like efficiency and slowly kind of add more to it, but you can't add too much too quickly and end up lowering the quality of play of your quarterback in the process. We
also got a glimpse at the new offensive pieces here for the Chicago Bears. It's not just Ben Johnson. Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, we got a chance to see them on the field. They made some impact plays here. What is your impression of how that's going?
Yeah, this is all about being able to put the ball in the hands of some of these playmakers and let them make some plays after the catch. Like the scheme is supposed to get them open, and then if Caleb Williams is on time and delivers the ball, then like the plays are going to be there to be made. And it was nice to see a wide variety of pass catchers getting involved. Colton Met still working up the seam the way he has before. Colston Loveland looking athletic as a separator. Like it's kind of like checking the boxes, right? We're not ready to get carried away with everyone's going to be 1,000-yard receiver, but it feels like, okay, Loveland kind of looks the part. Burden looks the part. DJ Moore. I mean, the only one who disappointed, Rome Odunze dropped the pass. I guess that was the one where you're like looking for a better year too from him. But for the most part, it feels like smooth sailing, at least from a weapons standpoint, maybe still some offensive line questions.
Well, and the thing that I saw blow up on social media for Luther Burden wasn't even the catches that he made. It was the block that he made that sprung the touchdown.
Yeah, and that was something that he was knocked for coming out of Missouri. So there's a feeling like his Ben Johnson, his coaching staff got him bought in, that he was known for taking plays off in college sometimes and not being as motivated and dedicated to the whistle on plays where he wasn't getting the ball. But it does seem to be a pretty clear sign of buy-in, and we'll see if that continues depending on how these different roles play out over the course of the season. If you're not getting the ball as much as you might want, does that change over time? That's going to be a good test of the head coach and the culture.
How does it make you feel that him wearing 87 is considered a throwback?
Hey, I mean, when you get DJ Moore as a number 2 and Odunze as a 15, I'll take 80s with them and the tight ends. I'm here for it.
It's weird that we now have reached the part of football history where if the receivers are wearing 80s, we now know we're in the fourth quarter of a preseason game, whereas that used to be every game on Sunday that we watched when you and I were growing up. It makes me feel so old. I don't like it.
you couldn't be a number one wide receiver without being an 81. Usually was like, that was the number. You have to earn 81 and
right. 80, 87 even too. Like those were the numbers to have.
The Bears have 3 wide receivers on their training camp roster in the 80s, and 2 of them aren't going to make the 53-man roster. So it might just be burden when we talk about the regular season. I'm getting old.
You can stay up to date all year on the Chicago Bears by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Bears on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Brewers had their winning streak snapped, but not before winning a crucial series over the Reds. Before we get to that, the Eagles made a trade. What else is new? Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be there. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and you've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worrying out of buying. Game Time has last-minute tickets and zone deals for big savings, like 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matchups. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Philadelphia Eagles have traded for Texans wide receiver John Mechie.
All right, so the Philadelphia Eagles just traded for John Mechie, a former wide receiver out of Alabama, second-round pick to the Houston Texans. They got John Mechie and a sixth-round pick for Harrison Bryant, the tight end, and a fifth-rounder. The picks are actually just going back to the other team that was in the trade for C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Kenyon Green. So the Eagles get their sixth back, and the Texans get their fifth-rounder back. In a vacuum, I think John Mechie for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which is basically what the trade was, because Kenyon Green's probably going to get cut. Not ideal, but Mechie is a clear and obvious upgrade at wide receiver, and now I think you have 5 guys locked in. It's A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson, and John Mechie. I think Darius Cooper and Ainias Smith are now battling for one spot. I know Cooper has been the better player all summer, but Ainias Smith was the former draft pick from just a couple years ago, had a big punt return to that first preseason game, has 2 touchdowns in the preseason. I think Cooper's on the outside looking in, but I like the Mechie move.
Yankees swept the Cardinals.
Big win for the Yankees as a 7 RBI night for Ben Rice gives them the official victory in St. Louis for the series. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. An early game tomorrow and a bad start out of Max Fried in this game. He has been awful since the middle part of the season, the All-Star break. They still get the win behind former Yankee Sonny Gray not pitching well, and the Yankees now improve their lead even more with significant losses of teams that are behind them in the standings. These are the games that are crucial. This is why we were mad last week when they lost that game. They need to win games when the teams behind them lose. They're firmly in their spot right now, and they're holding on to it. Yankees need to keep this up, and the last game in St. Louis is still important, even though you've won the series. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. We'll be discussing all of it throughout the week on the show.
And the Phillies held off the Nationals.
Philadelphia Phillies settle for a series split with the Washington Nationals, taking Game 4 in D.C. in a slugfest, 11-9 in favor of the Phils. 2 big Phillies names came back to rejoin the big league roster. One, Alec Boehm. Welcome back, Alec Boehm. The other, Aaron Nola. Maybe take a little bit more time for yourself there, Nola. But Alec Boehm comes back in the second inning. He gets his first home run in his return, a 3-run home run that gave the Phillies a 6-0 lead. Then in the third inning, Aaron Nola would give that lead right back. All 6 runs, as a matter of fact. He started out by getting a strikeout for the first out of the inning on 3 pitches, and then the wheels fell off. He gave up 6 runs, all earned on 6 hits, and was taken out of the game after 23 pitches and just 1 out in the third. Phillies blew that 6-0 lead and then blew an 11-6 lead, and needing Johan Duran to come in to get his 21st save of the season in the ninth.
The Milwaukee Brewers extended their winning streak to 14 games before Sunday afternoon. Locked On Brewers postcast host Brandon Snide broke down the series-ending loss to the Reds after 2 huge wins in Great American Ballpark.
The 14-game win streak coming to an end, and it was remarkable for this team. So we'll talk about the win streak, what's next for this team, as well as your thoughts, your reactions on the program as the Brewers, as I've mentioned, fall to the Reds 3-2, snapping their 14-game win streak. We'll begin with the scoring summary today, brought to you by Prize Picks and by FanDuel. And not a lot of scoring in this one, as the Brewers do lose at 3-2, and it was a pitcher's duel. Andrew Abbott and Jose Quintana for the Brewers, who got the start. Both of those guys absolutely fantastic this afternoon out there in Cincinnati. No scoring up until the 7th inning, and it took a Jose Trevino sacrifice fly for the Cincinnati Reds to get on the board there in the 7th. And then that would take us to the 9th inning, and with one out, William Contreras, as you heard me mention it, that win streak looked like it could have kept going with the William Contreras home run to left center field, 405 feet in the top half of the 9th with one out, gave Milwaukee the 2-1 lead. And then that would take us to the bottom of the 9th. And this is going to be my turning point in this game. And it's not necessarily where the game was won or lost, but it was the decision that was made by manager Pat Murphy in a 3-2 loss, resulting in the Brewers' 14-game win streak coming to an end.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So I thought this part in the game was interesting because it felt like Tobias Myers was kind of cruising along, and it felt like it was the Bryce Terrain error in the bottom half of the 9th, the first ground ball that approached him in the inning. It should have been an out. Tobias Myers would have ideally have had 2 quick outs in that inning, but Pat Murphy pulled Tobias Myers. Now, Pat Murphy has done a lot of good over the last 2 years, year and a half or so, certainly over this 14-game win streak, certainly over the last 3 months or so for this team. But I felt like I would have left Tobias Myers there in the 9th inning. I mean, Tobias Myers has been really good as of late. Now, you talk about today, didn't give up anything this afternoon against the Reds. His last appearance on August 13th, didn't give up a run in 2 innings pitched. His last game where he gave up anything was back on August 9th. There was a couple of runs against the Mets. The Brewers still won that game. But even if you go back to the end of July, Tobias Myers has been pretty good. Has it been shaky at times? Certainly. But I think in this moment of the game, I would have, if you're asking me now, and I know hindsight is always 20/20, but if you're asking me now, I would have preferred Tobias over Grant Anderson, who eventually gave up the game-winning run, the tying run as well in the 9th inning. It was Trevino single to right center. That would plate a run. That would make it 2-2. And then not Ke'Bryan Hayes. I have the 2 Hayes mixed up here. Austin Hayes for Cincinnati would walk it off with a base hit past Caleb Durbin at third base, and the Reds would hold on and crawl back in this one and fight back and get the 3-2 win over the Brewers, snapping their 14-game win streak, coming to an end in a big series against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field coming up. But that was my turning point in the game. And again, I understand in the moment of this game for this team, right? You were really battled all game long against Andrew Abbott and the Reds pitching. But you're able to crawl back in that 9th inning, get the home run for William Contreras, who again was as clutch gets, and has been just swinging such a great bat over the course of the last month plus now, has Wild Bill. But I thought taking out Tobias Myers, inserting Grant Anderson, if you're looking back at it, maybe there's a reason and a method to what Murphy is going to do and what he did. And obviously maybe he might lean on Tobias Myers in that Cubs series. But I thought that was my turning point, because I thought that there was a better opportunity personally for Tobias Myers to get out of that 9th inning as opposed to Grant Anderson. So that's a turning point. A 3-2 Brewers loss. Guys, it is August 17th, and it's the first loss that we're talking about in the month of August, right? Their last loss coming against a team they'll see starting on Monday against the Chicago Cubs. So it's been a while since the Brewers have lost. So it's almost you're kind of struggling a little bit, kind of thinking how to talk through this loss, because we just haven't prepared for a loss. And I'll be quite honest with you, even when the Brewers took the lead 2-1 in the 9th inning off of that William Contreras home run to left field, I prepared this show for a win. I thought this was going to be a win for our Brew Crew, but it certainly they came up just short today, falling to the Reds. The good news against the loss, though, you do reserve some of those arms in the bullpen, and I know they used them last night as well, but now you have them going forward in that series, that 5-game series in Chicago coming up tomorrow, starting tomorrow. But you also take the series against the Cincinnati Reds, who are fighting for a playoff spot. They're fighting for a wild card spot, fighting with the Mets, fighting with the Cubs. So you take the series, you win 2 out of 3. Again, we all wanted the win streak to keep going. We all wanted to keep the good times flowing. They're still flowing. This team is still the best in baseball, 78-45 after today's loss in Cincinnati. But you do secure the series win against the Reds, and you'll see them towards the end of the year, regular season, that is, at American Family Field. So another opportunity to see this team.
Stay up to date all year on the Milwaukee Brewers by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Brewers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Lions offense just hasn't been up to snuff. The Lions offense hasn't been what you would expect it to be or what you'd want it to be if you're a Lions fan. Locked On NFL host Matt Williamson explains why Detroit fans shouldn't be panicked at all.
People overreact this time of year, though. I mean, people need to understand that in the preseason, you're not doing all your stuff. You're not game planning for the opponent. And in some instances, you're even putting your teams in tough situations. I heard an interview with some Eagles folks the other day, and they were talking about Eagles-Bengals. It was a crucial third down situation in week 1 of the preseason, and Vic Fangio called a cover 0 blitz and left Wingo, the young corner from Georgia, on an island against Jamar Chase. And it didn't go well. And Fangio, after the game, said, I would never do that during the regular season, though. You know, I'm just trying to test these guys to see how they handle adversity. So I want to preface that just by saying you don't know what every team's intentions are or why they're calling specific plays or what they're exactly doing. So I'm not going to overreact that Detroit's offense isn't lighting it up yet after 1 week. I
don't know about not at all. I wouldn't be panicking yet. That's how I would phrase it. Yet. Because Ben Johnson has the Bears looking pretty good in preseason. Certainly looks pretty good against the Bills on Sunday night. How much of that offense was Ben Johnson? You don't just get to take the component parts as a coach and say, well, it's going to be as good. How many times have we seen that just doesn't work? For years in the 90s, everyone wanted to hire a Mike Holmgren disciple coach. None of them were as good as Mike Holmgren. For years, everyone wanted to hire a Bill Belichick disciple coach. None of them were even close. They were not a fraction. They were not a whiff as good as Bill Belichick. Just because you have the playbook doesn't mean you can do the thing. Just because you have the plays doesn't mean you can correctly implement them in a game situation, that you can sequence them correctly, that you can call that trick play at just the right time, or you can game plan in just the right kind of way. I know Dan Campbell is still the tip of the spear there, but clearly Ben Johnson was the offensive engine. They have talent. We've seen that coaching staff on defense when the talent wasn't there. Aaron Glenn got that defense playing really well last year without Aiden Hutchinson, with half that defense on IR seemingly. They were a top 10 group. What if they don't have that this year? What if they have to win games? What if they're not in positive scripts all the time and they can't run the ball as effectively? Do you trust a new coach to do it as well as Ben Johnson did? I don't. And finally, Scotty Scheffler just had himself a Tiger Woods moment. At the BMW Championship, he raced a 4-shot deficit, then chipped in from 82 feet on the 17th to seal his 5th win of the year. The kind of highlight that felt straight out of Tiger's playbook. Scheffler closed with a 67, becoming the first player since Wood in 2006 to win 5 times in back-to-back seasons. For Robert McIntyre, who blew a big lead and had to watch that chip disappear, it was deja vu. Another runner-up finish decided by someone else's miracle shot. But for Scheffler, it was just another day in the Tiger lane. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, the Browns have a plan for naming their starting quarterback, but will that QB hold on to that job and for how long? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.